everybody? I'm Ryan from Fireside Yankees, joined by Yankees infield prospect Caleb Durbin. Caleb Durbin had a successful season this past year, had an OPS above 800 in high A, then got promoted to double A, also had an OPS above 800 there, then went to the Arizona Fall League and absolutely tore it up. He almost set the stolen base record, but he decided to hit a home run instead of getting to first base. Caleb, actually, when I saw the home run clip, I think I heard a guy say, like, screaming, "Stay at first" at you. How was that Arizona Fall experience like, man, and how you doing?
Yeah, no, first off, thanks for having me, Ryan. Super thankful to be on with you, taking the time to talk with you. The Fall League was awesome. I had pretty high expectations for it going in. Just the guys that my Yankee buddies who played in it last year talked really highly of it, said it was a lot of fun. Obviously, the baseball is really good down there. So overall, lived up to the hype, lived up to my expectations, and I'm thankful I got the opportunity to play down there.
Yeah, absolutely. I know Tyler Hardman spent some time there. And then this year, I think it was Matt Sawyer, Tristan Vierling, Nelson Medina, and Benjamin Cowles all went. I might have been missing a pitcher in that group. But, Chaparro went 2 years back, and he really built some prospect hype then. So, you obviously had a really successful season at the minor league level and in the AFL. So one of the questions I had was, I mean, people may not be aware as to how you entered the organization. I know I introed with it with you being acquired via trade for Lucas Litke. But the inside process of being traded and what that process is like, what were some of the unexpected challenges that came alongside being dealt from the Braves to the Yankees?
Yeah, for sure. I think one of the biggest things when you get into pro ball, that first full season, you learn a lot from it. It's a big learning curve. You learn a lot about yourself mentally, physically, how to get through a full season, and also getting to know the way that kind of org works, in spring training and at the affiliates too, and getting comfortable with the guys around you and coaching staff. So all that plays a part to it. So obviously that comfortability kind of goes away when you get traded, and obviously going into a new org in spring training, you don't really know what to expect, and obviously you don't really. I didn't know anyone in the Yankees org, players or coaches, so I think those are just natural built-in challenges to getting traded. Um, but I will say the Yankees did couldn't have done a much better job in helping me with that transition. One, making me feel welcomed and making me feel at home, right away. And then within days, getting on Zoom calls with the hitting coordinators, fielding coordinators on things they think I do well, and things that they think I can improve on, and how they're going to help me improve on it. So really creating that dialogue and communicating right away was big in that transition.
Yeah, absolutely. And look, obviously I can imagine how uncomfortable that may be to like make that transition. And if the stats reflect anything, you seemingly got very comfortable being uncomfortable quickly. So, in your first season, with the Yankees, you set career highs in batting average and OPS. You finished the season with an 8.22 OPS this year versus a .724 OPS last season. And you even made it up to double A, which is considered one of the hardest jumps to make at the minor league level, going from high A to double A. And you succeeded. You had an 801 OPS. So, what were some of the biggest changes you made between the 2022 and 2023 season, and some data points that you would say you're most proud of?
Yeah, I mean, right away, like I said, when I got traded, the biggest things that the Yankees kind of made really clear for me that I needed to work on is one, swing decision and contact quality. Like those are two areas that I could improve a lot in. And I think they saw a lot of upside in my contact rate. Like that's a big strength of mine. So I can, I see the ball well and I can put it in play. But my swing decision wasn't great and my contact quality wasn't great. And those two things kind of, play a part with each other. Because, if I'm not swinging at great pitches, I'm still making contact with them. So if I'm swinging at a ball and putting it in play, the contact quality is not going to be great either. So really just working on my approach at the plate, swinging at better pitches. One thing that's good for me is like I don't have a ton of swing and miss in my game, so I don't have to worry about actually hitting the ball. So when I simplify to just trying to pick my good pitches, see the ball in the zone, and then not cheating myself with my swing and really putting a good, full intent swing on it. When I kind of simplified to that, it kind of just clicked for me at some point this season, and I think those are two areas that I made some pretty good improvement in, with swing decision and contact quality. And it's good to have those like advanced data that's getting better and having that translate into stuff like you said, average and OPS that get better as a result of that.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think something that gets lost in like the old school, new school kind of debate conversation is that, when it comes to player development, you're just trying to take those advanced data points and translate them into simpler terms. It's not like players need to get antiquated with like, XWOBA or WRC plus or any of that stuff. They just need to know what works for them and how to get the results they're chasing. And, you kind of spoke about your contact skills and how that's something you have, you've excelled in. I mean, you struck out 6.2% of the time, which is ridiculous. But speed is another tool you have, and it jumps off the page when looking at your profile. You stole 36 bases in just 69 games. So, obviously those two skills are great, and I kind of wanted to get your take on your speed. But I also wanted to ask, what's one skill that you have on the field that you think goes under the radar, and what's one character trait that you possess that you think most impacts the clubhouse?
Yeah, I mean, I think one thing for me is I take a lot of pride in my defense. I work just as much time in the off season on my glove as I do my bat, and I always have kind of my entire life. So I think I take pride in trying to be as versatile as possible too. I know I played a lot of second base this year, mixed in some third. I hadn't played any third base up until I got to pro ball, and now I'm in a position where I feel really comfortable there. Then obviously played shortstop mainly in college, so all three positions I'm feel comfortable at. And then I'm sure if they put me in the outfield, I'd feel comfortable there too. So it's just trying to be as versatile as possible on the defensive side of the ball. And then the second part of your question, I think one thing I've learned, being in pro ball is it's such a long season, right? So having those guys in the clubhouse that are good for morale, especially getting injured this year. Like it's really important to stay positive and kind of make fun of yourself sometimes, make fun with your teammates, because it's such a long season. So it helps, just like in any job, in your job too. Like it helps when you're working with people who you like a lot. So I think learning kind of how to one be have that balance of being super competitive and wanting to win, but also keeping it relaxed in the clubhouse and being a good clubhouse guy too, as much as I can.
Yeah, absolutely. And when you were talking about that process of being injured, right? Like I had spoken to Andre Chaparro following the 2022 season. He had an injury stint during his double A stint. He talked about, it's a lonely process. It's tough rehabbing and all that stuff. So, I know this isn't a question I necessarily sent you beforehand, but I did kind of want to ask if you wanted to expand upon, that process of rehabbing and getting back into the swing of things.
Yeah, no, it is tough, and it's a lot of the times it does feel lonely because I mean everyone's got their own stuff to worry about, right? But I will say it was ended up being 2 months, so a decent amount of time. And luckily, I'm thankful that I got to stay around the team for that time. I didn't go down to Florida at all in Tampa. Being around the guys helped a lot because one, they helped me keep my morale high and stuff, and just being around the game more and being in the dugout still. Like I'm so thankful I at least had that opportunity. But yeah, it's tough. Like you just kind of gotta dial in on what you need to get better at that day. And for me, it was getting my ankle healthy. For a month, it was really just rehabbing that ankle, and then another month of building up baseball activity. So it's definitely a grind because as long as you are out with the injury, you need to take just as much time to build back up into ideally doing what you could do on the baseball field, after the injury that you were able to do beforehand.
Yeah, absolutely. And you obviously, you come back, you get healthy, and then you go off to the Arizona Fall League where, I mean, you had one of the highest stolen base totals in AFL history. You put up an OPS north of 1,000. What were you most proud of from that offensive tear, and why do you feel that way?
Yeah, I think the way we talked about before with getting that contact quality better, I did a good job this year. I did a better job of my contact quality and hitting the ball harder. But the thing that kind of still was lacking was getting it in the air more. So that was a big thing that I wanted to improve on going into the fall league, was just really committing to elevating and getting the ball in the air more to see if my power could play at a to get more extra base hits and whatnot. So that was, I thought definitely improved a lot on. And it got to a point where, I felt really in control at the dish. I felt like I could do some damage. And then, if I walked or only hit a single, then I had an open base in front of me. I could just take it. And just any way I felt like I could get in scoring position, whether it was hitting or, on the bases. And it was definitely a good feeling to kind of have that control and feel like I could kind of take the game in control and do what I wanted at the plate and on the bases.
Yeah, I mean, it's impressive to hear you talk about how like you were focusing more on elevating the ball. And again, to kind of mention your strikeout rate from earlier, it was 6.2% at the minor league level, and the AFL 6.8%. So it's a marginal increase, and you're able to lift the ball more. That's highly impressive. Usually, people talk about sacrificing either quantity or quality of contact for the other. So it's impressive and awesome to hear that wasn't really the case here. And shifting gears a little bit now, you've spent time in High A, in Double A, and of course the Arizona Fall League. What is, if there's one teammate you could shout out, I mean, you could do maybe one hitter and one pitcher, whatever you'd like to do, that you feel deserves more attention and prospect hype? Who would it be and why?
Yeah, I think I got a chance to play with Ben Cowles quite a bit in High A and in the AFL. And he's another guy that same position as me, where he can, kind of be versatile on the defensive side of the ball and be a really good defender at second, third, and short. And like I said, be an above average player at each position. You don't get that a whole lot. And then obviously in the fall league was able to put it all together at the plate. Top 10 hitter in the fall league is not easy to do. So that was really fun to watch. And then I think another guy is TJ Rumfield with I mean, he's a Gold Glove first baseman. You don't see that a lot. And then his kind of combination of discipline at the plate and power is also, I think, pretty unique. But obviously, I'm super lucky to have him at first base for me. He definitely helped me a few times this year. But I think those two guys are some gamers.
Yeah, Cal's had an OPS north of 950 in the AFL, and Rumfield did a really good job with increasing his fly ball rate this past year. I think he hit like a bunch more home runs than he did in years prior. So, really excited to see how they develop into next season. And my final question for you would be, want to move away a little bit from this season and take a trip to the past. So, everybody has their reason for loving baseball, right? Like, I actually have a picture on my phone of me watching a game in 2006 when I was like 1.5 years old. It was against the Angels, and like the Yankees were up 1-0. They ended up losing that game. It was Randy Johnson versus Irvin Santana. But everyone has that moment that made them fall in love with baseball. What has kept that passion in the game for the game intact for you through the grind of minor league baseball and these long seasons in college and high school and just the entire process as a whole?
Yeah, I mean, from early on, obviously, played t-ball, loved the game, was always super competitive. But I was also my brother's team's bat boy growing up, so I remember whenever they would lose, I would get just as mad, if not even more mad. I wasn't even on the team, but I remember, you know, getting so upset when they lost. So right away, I had that competitive fire that I've just always kind of had. And then I think now, like the grind of the minor league baseball, what honestly helps me that I can fall back on is coming from a Division III school. I know that I'm playing with a lot of guys that went to bigger schools than me and or got drafted out of high school. So I'm in my head behind the curve on that end. So I need to every single day, like I come to the ballpark, I need to kind of have that edge to me to perform every single game because I know these guys, are coming from a little bit bigger schools than me. So I've always kind of had that edge, to play with like my hair is on fire and that's probably not going to change ever. But coming from the school that I did definitely kind of also adds that chip on my shoulder to kind of come out every single day and try to perform.
Yeah, absolutely. What gets lost in like the minor league conversation is that what people forget is, these players that get drafted, they're the best players in college baseball. They're the best players, in their town. They're the best players on their high school team. You don't get drafted by being, a pretty good player, solid, all right. Like there's a lot of talent around. And you've definitely, I mean, if this past season is an indicator of anything, there is a lot of good in store for you. And if there has anything else you want to close off with, if there's anything you want, anybody to know, anything that you've got going on, take the floor.
Yeah, no, I mean, I just want to thank you again for having me on. This was a lot of fun, and hopefully there's more to come in the future.
Yeah, we'll be very excited to see your progression for next year. Hopefully, I get to write an article saying Caleb Durbin has been promoted to the major leagues. But yeah, thank you so much for coming on. This was excellent. Guys, Caleb Durbin, you gotta, I don't know if it's Baseball Reference, Fangraphs, whatever site you guys want to use. Look him up, look at the numbers, and get antiquated with him because he's absolutely fantastic at the plate. And as you mentioned, defensively, great. And again, 36 steals in 69 games, guys. That's pretty ridiculous. But with that being said, thank you guys for tuning in. I'm Ryan from Fireside Yankees. Caleb, thank you so much again, and we'll see you guys in the next one.